Teutul Jr. lost everything in a heartbreaking family war. His father demanded $1.5 million from his own son. His brother was forced to choose sides. But there did come that time where you and your dad kind of parted ways. I mean, he fired you. He did. At the time, it was really tough, but when I look back, it was the best thing. And when Paul became a father himself, he realized the true cost of their famous feud. I've found a lot of forgiveness and understanding towards my own father because of having my own son. Today, the man who built America's most famous motorcycles reveals the painful truth behind the cameras and why he hasn't shared a holiday meal with his father in 15 years. Most kids in the mid-80s were busy riding bikes, watching cartoons, or playing Nintendo. But Paul Teutul Jr. had a completely different idea of fun. After building Orange County choppers into a TV empire, Paul Family War Jr. lost everything in a heartbreaking family war. His father demanded $1.5 million from his own son. His brother was forced to choose sides. But there did come that time where you and your dad kind of parted ways. I mean, he fired you. He did at the time. It was really tough. But when I look back, it was the best thing. And when Paul became a father himself, he realized the true cost of their famous feud. I found a lot of forgiveness and understanding towards my own father. Because of having my own son today, the man who built America's most famous motorcycles reveals the painful truth behind the cameras and why he hasn't shared a holiday meal with his father in 15 years. Most kids in the mid-80s were busy riding bikes, watching cartoons, or playing Nintendo. But Paul Teutul Jr. had a completely different idea of fun at just early life. 12 years old? He was already working in the heat and noise of Orange County iron. Worked while other kids were at the beach. Paul was sweeping metal shavings off workshop floors and running tools to grown men, welding steel even before that. He used to visit his dad's job site and collect scrap pieces of metal like they were toys. He'd arrange them into little sculptures, dreaming up creations from what others saw as junk. That early exposure shaped everything. By the time he was 14, Paul was already welding with a calm precision that even the seasoned guys respected. He wasn't just picking up skills. He was learning how to think like a builder. But life in the shop wasn't all sparks and glory. His dad, Paul Sr., had a reputation for being intense, and he didn't go easy on his son. In fact, his dad was often harder on him than anyone else. Junior couldn't get away with small mistakes. If something went wrong, he'd get yelled at in front of everyone. Some thought it was unfair, but Senior believed it would make him stronger. As the years passed, their personalities clashed more and more. Some also think that Under the Show did a lot of damage in her with the family. Paul Sr. liked brute strength and old-school methods. Paul Jr. had a more artistic eye and preferred clean lines and perfect detail. One summer, Jr. redesigned a railing to make it both stronger and better looking. His dad dismissed it at first, but a few days later, without saying a word, he approved it and used the design. That moment said it all. Deep down, there was respect, but it came with a constant vocational program. While most high schoolers were cramming for math tests, Paul Jr. took a different path. He joined a vocational program that let him spend half his school day learning metalwork. He studied welding techniques, blueprints, and how to read the stress points in steel. One of his instructors said he had a rare gift, like he could see how metal wanted to move before even touching it. Junior spent hours beyond class practicing every weld, every cut until it felt natural. He knew he didn't need a fancy degree to succeed. He just needed to master his craft. When he returned to his father's shop after graduating, he wasn't the kid sweeping floors anymore. He was a skilled fabricator who spoke the language of the pros and backed it up with results. By 19, Paul Jr. was leading the railing division at Orange County Iron Works. That's not a small job. The department made up nearly half the Orange County Iron Works Company's income. Most would assume it was family favoritism, but the truth is Junior earned it. He expanded their design options and gave the shop a modern edge. His designs were so popular, customers were willing to pay more and wait longer just to get something crafted by him. He also had to manage a crew of workers much older than him. Some of them were veterans, some skeptical at first. But over time, even the toughest ones admitted he knew what he was doing. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking about using an Indian motive? He had taken a metal shop and turned it into something people talked about. That kind of respect doesn't come easy. Still, at Orange County Choppers something was missing. After years of building stairs and railings, Junior felt boxed in. He wanted to build something that moved, something alive. That spark lit up when he started secretly sketching motorcycles in an old notebook, after long days at work. Around that time, his dad got back into bikes too and started casual. Senior asked Junior to help him build one. But when Paul Sr. saw what his son had drawn up, it shocked him. It wasn't just technical, it was art. That day Senior looked at his son and said, "Let's build bikes for real." Not as a hobby, as a business. It wasn't just about motorcycles. It was about fixing something much bigger, the years of distance between them. With about $175,000 scraped together from the family's iron works business, they officially launched Orange County Choppers. But it wasn't equal. Senior kept 80%, Junior got 20%. It didn't matter. They had nothing but a dream in a cold basement full of tools. Within months, the bikes they built started getting noticed. Their first one, True Blue, took them 4 long months, late nights, endless welding, and blue paint with white flames. It looked like it came from a big-time builder, not a frozen garage in upstate New York. When they brought it to Daytona in 1999, jaws dropped. They weren't nobodies anymore. But success didn't come easy. In 2000, they were building bikes in a tiny freezing workshop. Tools broke, suppliers wanted cash up front. Money ran out fast. Paul Jr. often worked 18-hour days, sleeping on a couch in the shop just to stay on schedule. They fought constantly, big yelling matches, not for show, but for survival. Every bike they sold barely covered costs, yet they kept going. Not because they had to, but because they couldn't stop. Then in 2002, a phone call came. A TV producer named Craig Polyjohn saw a magazine feature on their bikes. He was scouting for a new reality show. When he called, Paul Sr. picked up and barked, "What the hell do you want?" The producer pitched a show about restoring junkyard bikes. Sr. shut it down instantly. "We build them from scratch," he said. The family friction deal almost died. But weeks later, the producer came back with a better idea, filmed the real process, arguments and all. Paul Jr. hated the idea. He feared the cameras would ruin everything. He even wrote his dad a 5-page letter saying, "They'll make us look like fools." The contract was insulting, $5,000 per episode, endless camera retakes, and lighting so hot it messed up their welding. At one point, producers suggested calling the show Family Friction. Paul Jr. nearly walked. But they needed the money, so they signed. When American Chopper premiered on March 31, 2003, no one expected what came next. In just 3 episodes, it exploded. Over 3 million people were watching each week. Suddenly, they weren't just bike builders. They were stars. Their tiny shop turned into a tourist attraction. Merch flew off shelves. Discovery Channel made $13 million in sales in that first season alone. The Teutul's had to move into a massive $12 million facility just to keep up. At first, it was Paul Sr.'s temper that pulled people in. But it was Paul Jr. who kept them watching. Fans didn't care about the drama. They loved watching him build. Junior's designs were magic, silent, focused, and precise. In fact, one scene of him building a gas tank with no music or talking became one of the most requested clips ever aired. Welding schools across America saw enrollment spike. They called it the Poly Effect. Then came the bike that changed everything, the Black Widow. It wasn't just a bike. It was a statement. A spiderweb gas tank, custom wheels, 167 hours of pure craftsmanship. When it was unveiled in New York, 15,000 people packed in to see it. Security had to hold the crowd back. Soon, they were selling model kits, shirts, video games, you name it. Over 280,000 model kits sold in 6 months. It made OCC a brand, not just a shop. When Paul Jr. finished building the fire bike in June 2003, it wasn't just another chopper. It was a turning point in his career. He wasn't just making a motorcycle. He was building a tribute to the firefighters who lost their lives on September 11th. And that meant every part of the bike had to carry meaning. One of the most powerful details was a real piece of steel from the wreckage of the World Trade Center. He didn't hand that off to someone else, he welded it on himself. The jagged piece of metal was attached to a diamond plate bracket he made just for this bike. It was a final piece and the most emotional. But that wasn't the only challenge. The design was so ambitious that he had to completely redesign the bike's frame. It needed to support 343 hand-painted emblems, one for each firefighter who died. That kind of weight, both literal and symbolic, required serious engineering. And when the bike got into an accident the next year, the New York Fire Department didn't treat it like a normal crash. They responded personally, carefully recovering the damaged bike like it was a fallen comrade. That's how much it meant. Even now, it sits in OCC's museum. It's been to over 248 events. People still show up, see the tribute bike, get emotional, and leave personal notes and tributes beside it. Years later, Paul Jr. would revisit the pain and power of 9/11 with another project. A second tribute bike. This one was unveiled on January 20th, 2011. And the reaction was overwhelming. It wasn't just bikers who showed up. It brought together people like New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg and the president of the 9/11 Memorial. The memorial pool had been asked by Daniel Artishman, a board member of the memorial, to build something unforgettable. And he delivered. Not just one bike, but two. One stayed as a tribute. The other was raffled to raise money for the memorial. People bought tickets online and in person, and all the money went straight to support the 9/11 museum. That day, when the cover came off the bike, people cried. Grown men, families, tourists, everyone was hit by the emotional weight of what that machine represented. The design told a story without saying a word. Even the Huffington Post ran a full feature on it, spreading the message to people who couldn't be there. But behind the flashy paint and polished chrome was something even more impressive: his technical mind. Paul Jr. wasn't just designing pretty bikes. In 2012, he quietly introduced a game-changing technique into the motorcycle world. He began using T-spring, a tool that made it easier to design smooth, curved shapes. What used to take over 40 hours now took just 15. When he built an electric bike with Autodesk, that method was essential. Soon, other shops started using the same technique, often without realizing where it came from or giving credit. Then in 2015, Paul did something that shocked even his team. He created a system that made motorcycle frames lighter, but just as strong. It completely changed how they built customs. And he didn't stop there. He taught himself how to write G-code, the programming language for CNC machines. Before, he was just the guy designing the bike. Now he could control the machines too. He went from artist to machinist, handling both the creative and technical sides of the build. The trouble between Paul Teutul Sr. and his son didn't explode overnight. It started quietly in 2007, when Sr. gave Jr. a 20% stake in their company but kept full control for himself. At first, it looked like a fair setup: father runs the business, son brings the style. But as Jr.'s designs became more famous and grabbed headlines, the balance started to tip. People weren't praising Sr.'s old-school craftsmanship anymore. They were talking about Jr.'s wild ideas. And that didn't sit well with a man who built Orange County choppers from the ground up. Behind the scenes, jealousy took root. Sr.'s grip tightened. Every time Jr. came in late or worked in his own way, it lit a fuse. And the longer it burned, the harder it was to put out. The shop turned into a war zone. By 2008, the shop had turned into a war zone. Fights between father and son weren't rare, they were routine. Most of it was about control. Jr. wanted freedom to create. Senior wanted obedience. It was a clash of worlds, creative spirit versus hard-nosed discipline. The cameras on American Chopper caught some of it, but they missed the worst. When the lights went off, Senior got mean. And not just with Junior. Jason, a designer, once smashed his own creation to bits after one of Senior's tirades. Everyone in the shop walked on eggshells. Even Mikey, the goofy peacekeeping younger brother, couldn't escape the emotional wreckage. He looked broken, like years of being shouted down had finally caught up to him. And then came the blow-up. September 2008. Junior was late again, and Senior snapped. What should have been a warning turned into a screaming match in front of the entire crew. I want to be around by the blow-up, father. But coming out of that unhealthy dynamic, I was able to grow spiritually, emotionally, and just on every level because I kind of came out from under my father. And then I just became my own guy. When Junior tried to defend himself, saying he always got the job done, Senior refused to hear it. Junior fired back. He said OCC would fall apart without him. That was it. Senior blew up, and Junior, fed up beyond reason, hurled a chair across the office and a trash can, kicked down a door, and stormed out. Senior chased after him and fired him on the spot. That chair-throwing moment didn't just break furniture. It shattered whatever was left of their working relationship. Years later, it would become a meme. But at the time, it was a disaster. After the firing, chaos followed. The crew was split, some backed Junior, others stayed quiet, afraid of Senior's wrath. Customers started worrying. Would their bikes still carry the same magic now that the designer behind them was gone? Even the network panicked. TLC gave Junior a warning, saying he had broken his contract by walking off the show. So for a short time, he came back as a contractor. But it didn't last. By April 2009, he was done for good. Senior took it even further. He wanted Junior out of the business completely, and moved to buy his 20% stake. When Junior wouldn't sell, Senior filed the lawsuit. The legal mess wasn't just about money. It was about power. Senior wanted total control back. He claimed he had the right to buy out Junior's shares for $500,000. Then he added a lawsuit demanding another $1 million in damages. He even made his own company a defendant, putting Orange County choppers on both sides of the case. It was a twisted movement to force Junior out completely. But Junior wasn't backing down. The heart of the fight was one badly written contract clause that said Senior could buy June's shares at fair market value, but didn't say how to decide what that meant. That vague wording would turn into a bomb in court, the court battle. When the case hit the New York Supreme Court in 2010, the first ruling favored Senior. The judge said the buyout clause was legit, and ordered an outside appraiser to set the value of the shares. It looked like Junior was done. They sat in court together, not even looking at each other. But Junior appealed, and in December everything changed. The appellate court reversed the ruling. They said the clause was too vague to enforce. That meant Junior kept his stake, 20% of OC, and Senior couldn't force him out. It was a massive legal win and a personal victory. The son everyone thought had been crushed was still standing, and his father couldn't get rid of him. You know that the relationship with my father is one of where we're not fighting. That's what I'll say. I mean, are we hanging out? No, we're not really hanging out, so things aren't bad, but they could be better. But that's okay. You know, sometimes these things take time. Still, Junior couldn't build bikes right away. He had a 1-year non-compete clause that meant no motorcycle building until 2010. So he pivoted. He started doing product design, including a dog park and a makeover for Coleman's Camping Grill. He said it was one of the hardest times in his life, but he kept going. He and his wife turned a room in their house into an office, hired a young guy for computer work, and launched Paul Jr. Designs right across the street from OC in April 2010. Just as Paul Jr.'s 1-year non-compete clause with Orange County choppers ended, he made a move that no one saw coming. Instead of simply starting his own bike shop, he triggered a full-blown mutiny. People who had been the backbone of OC, guys like Vinny Dano, Joe Palapico, Nubco, and even his own brother Mikey, walked away from the company. In Senior vs. Junior, they followed him. It wasn't long before Cody Connolly joined too. This wasn't just a business shift. It was a mass defection, the kind that left Paul Sr. gutted and furious. Discovery Channel didn't waste a second. They turned the fallout into reality TV gold, launching a new series called Senior vs. Junior, pitting father against son in a weekly showdown that blurred the line between family and ratings. The tension between Paul Sr. and Jr. wasn't new. But this show made it official. It aired in August 2010 and every episode stoked the fire. While Paul Jr. had doubts about airing their family drama on national television, Paul Sr. leaned into it. The shop battles were designed to be dramatic, and the audience was encouraged to pick sides. One reviewer called it tantrum TV. And they weren't wrong. The bikes took a back seat to the emotional wreckage. This wasn't just entertainment anymore. This was real pain packaged for public consumption. Still, people couldn't look away. In the middle of this chaos, something unexpected happened. Paul Jr. met Rachel Beast during an episode shoot. She showed up wearing a yellow jumpsuit as a muff girl, and something just clicked. What started on a TV set turned into something serious. While lawsuits were flying and the Teutul name was being pulled in every direction, Rachel gave Paul Jr. something solid. She owned her own boutique,